Welcome everybody back to Jocks of All Trades podcast. This is our Sideline GMs. We're going to go through the off season, and we're going to go through each conference, each division, each team. Probably 1 week at a time. We'll go through each division. This week it is the NFC North, and I have with me Matt. Matt, how's it going?
It's going well, Kyle. How about you, man?
It's going really well. For those of you that don't know, I'm sure you've seen Matt on Armchair GMs, right? With the fantasy football, and he's done an amazing job there. But Matt is also a massive Vikings fan. So
Goal.
uh, so we want him to kind of give us the lowdown, the rundown of this division, of his team. And I'm sure since the Vikings have faced each team twice every year for the last how many every years, like you have a good insight on those teams as well. And throughout this podcast, throughout these shows, we're going to go over kind of their off-season plan, how they did this year, looking forward to next year, their money, their draft picks, their new hires, free agents, potential guys that could help to improve their team. So, Matt, my first question about the Minnesota Vikings is how did you feel about this year and what are your thoughts going into next year?
So, my thought for this year for our squad, like, my expectations were low going into the season, and then I was surprised. And then the losses that we did take, we took very big losses. We lost by a lot. And I noticed the point differential. So it's just like, it was one of those, like, I'm happy for the team, but we are a one and done team as far as the playoffs going. Sure enough, that is what happened. So everyone was saying, like, teasing me about it. I was like, dude, I already know. Like, I knew what this team was
Yeah.
like midway through the season. So I was like, there was less than desirable the outcome, but you know, there's a lot of hope for our franchise, and I hope we can do something to build our defense, make it younger, make it faster. Because really, that's been our Achilles heel for the past few seasons. I mean, as far as points per game, yeah, I mean we're kind of mid, but it's hard to win games when the defense is giving up 28, 29, 30 points a game.
For
So
sure. Didn't they give up like what 34 to the Giants in the playoffs or something? Like that's pretty bad because I don't think the Giants offense is that great. Like they definitely got better because of Ryan Dable and Danny Penny's looked a little bit better, but not really, like he was serviceable and that's a whole other conversation. I don't know how he's going to get 45 million guaranteed per year this offseason. That doesn't make any sense to me.
nope.
However, yeah, you're right. Like I think the Vikings offense, from what I've seen, is solid. In some games, like near elite, because you have that Dalvin Cook, right? You have that Justin Jefferson. You have Kirk Cousins, who's able to play some good games. You have an improving offensive line, but then like it seems like when the offense starts to come around, the defense just craps the bed and lets you down. Is that accurate?
That's real accurate. One other thing, in my opinion, granted, Justin Jefferson, he's a great, great, great wide receiver, but we relied on him a little too much.
Yeah, that's the question
Now,
I have for you. Is that Justin Jefferson get 1,800 yards this year, offensive player of the year? Is that a big need in the offseason, wide receiver number two, or do you think Hawkinson can kind of fill a receiving role next year with the current crop of receivers?
I think Hawkinson can make a great number two option. If not him, we still have KJ Osborne.
Mm-hmm.
He was kind of but the talent, like the ceiling is there for him. Like he can hit that ceiling. It's pretty high. Thielen, as
He
much
might
as
be
it
gone
pains
this
me to
year.
say,
He might be
he
gone.
might be.
I feel like I've
Like,
seen some rumors about his wife being like, "This might be our last year." I think is he a free agent? I don't think
no, I
he's
think he
not.
still
No.
has one more year, and it's for $19 million is the cap hit for this
Oh,
coming
yep,
season.
you're right. Yep, 19 million. 13 if they cut him, 13 million in dead money. So that doesn't really help you out that much.
No,
So a trade
I
could be
mean,
possible, but
honestly, the Adam Thielen story is one for the ages, and honestly, I can't imagine him because he's a Minnesota kid,
right.
raised in Minnesota, went to Minnesota State, now Mankato State, or maybe that's vice versa. Either way, you know, undrafted free agent, started with special teams. And it's just like me personally, I don't want to see him on another team. I'd rather
Right.
him retire a Viking. And it's just like I really don't want to see him in another uniform.
Yeah.
But with that being said, we gotta cut some money somewhere
You got to
because
do what's best for the team, and that's a tough thing with the off season is as soon as it
yeah,
starts going, doesn't stop. Like you get rid of guys that have been on your team for 5, 6, 7 years, then like you might go out and sign somebody that you didn't even want. It's a train. It doesn't stop rolling. It's Adam Thielen. Maybe there is a contract restructure that could happen. Like I feel like a lot of those homegrown big times, big time players that the fans love, like they don't want to leave, so they restructure it a little bit. I think that could be an option to get under the cap. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can see that right now the Vikings are at negative 21 million. I don't think that's the most accurate number, but the gist is that they are a decent amount, uh, you know, over the cap. Now I was looking at this, and I don't know if you would agree with this or not, but do you think Eric Kendricks? What I'm seeing is about 2 million in dead money and about 9.5 cap savings if they were to maybe cut or trade him. Is he still playing at a level for you to hold on to him, or is he at a point where you're like, we could move on?
I feel I feel like we could probably move on from him a little bit because I don't know.
He's not old. I think he's only maybe
He's
30.
not real old, but bottom line is our defense. We do need to get younger guys. Younger edge rushers.
Mhm.
Definitely younger defensive backs. Because Patrick Peterson, while he did do some good things the past couple
Yeah.
seasons, he's in his twilight years at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just like defense is where we have to start building, especially with the grit that Brian Flores has, which again I'm still on cloud nine over that defensive hire. So
I think he runs a 3-4, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to look at that again. He might do multiple things with his defense. Um, I know that when I saw the move, I mean, that's an amazing hire. I think he definitely undersold, underrated with the Steelers, the Dolphins, like all of that. I think he just got the shaft, and I think that was a horrible thing when that happened. But um,
mhm.
from what I remember, he uses quite a number of different defenses, so very multiple, I guess. So that's a good thing. You want to switch up the defense a little bit. You don't want something static. Seems like a great guy too, but yeah, you're right. Vikings defense is getting up there a little bit. Daniel Hunter, I believe at one point, like he was like a stud pass rusher, and he still might be good, but I know he's not getting any younger. Um, Harrison Smith,
Harrison
I mean, he's
Smith.
been elite for a while, but he's maybe what 33, maybe.
Uh, I
So
th- yeah, I think he's a couple years younger than I am, and I'm about to be 35. So yeah, I think he's about 33. So
so yeah, you have a 34. Yeah, 34. So he is expected to hit free agency in 2026, I believe. So they have him on the hook for a while. I don't know if in 2 years he'll still be as productive. But you're right. Like we need to start as a Vikings front office need to start looking um, ahead for the defense. Do you think
yeah,
they need to look ahead for their quarterback position at all? Do you ever think about that? Or are you pretty like stable with Kirk Cousins?
I don't want to say stable because we've seen Kirk Cousins. We've seen him in the 1 o'clock games. He plays phenomenal. But then primetime Cousins, comes lingering around every once in a while. It's just like, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to look at a quarterback. I'm not saying take one in the first, second. I wouldn't even say the third round. Well, third round might be a stretch. But regardless, it wouldn't be a bad idea to pick up a quarterback and have him sit and learn the offense. Because, I believe this upcoming season will be Cousins' final year with us. And I'm not sure. We're wanting to extend Justin Jefferson. So I don't see Kirk Cousins extending his contract past 2023.
Right. And that'll be a big thing when that comes up, paying Jefferson over $100 million, I'm sure, because he deserves it. That's kind of the going rate for receivers. What if a guy like Hendon Hooker fall in your lap in like the third round, or what if like Anthony Richardson fell in your lap, maybe in the first round? He's very much a project guy, obviously, and he would have to sit 2 to 3 years. Do you think that could be enough?
He is a project guy. He is a project guy, but I like that type of project because with the way our offense is up, like we need someone who's a mobile quarterback.
Yeah, that's the league.
I thought we had
forward.
that with Kellen Mond, and then lo and behold, lo and behold, we cut him like in the preseason. So it's just like we need a mobile quarterback. Kirk Cousins is not a mobile guy. So
no, and it's
a project for Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, that's kind of like what's happening in the league, I think. Like mobile quarterbacks are like the thing. Like that's what's in. Look at the Super Bowl. Like Pat Mahomes, even though he's on a bum ankle, he's still a mobile quarterback. Jalen Hurts is a mobile quarterback. Josh Allen's a mobile quarterback. Joe Burrow moves around very well. Like these guys aren't just these stable pocket passers. Anytime a rusher comes at me, I fall down. Like that's Matt Ryan. Like that's what happens to him.
Heck, yeah. I was gonna say, even Tom Brady, he wasn't like a mobile quarterback, but he could still move around and extend plays. He's not exactly going to give you 15, 20 yards rushing in one attempt, but he can extend plays, and that's what Minnesota needs. So
Right.
I'd be fine if we took an Anthony Richardson, but there's other holes that need filled on our team, particularly in the defense. So it's like I really don't want to see them take an offensive player in the first round.
Right.
Now, with that being said, my expectations for Minnesota in the draft are low because we have this knack, we have this itch where we have to take our first round pick and then trade back, and it's just like, why?
That's hilarious that you say that because I did a little mock if you're watching on YouTube, a little mock in the right-hand corner. That's on PFF. Anybody can do that. But I have them trading back in the first round. I didn't know they were known for that, so I guess I got lucky there. But so they have the
every
first
year.
Every year, yeah. That's. I'd be so pissed if that was my team. Not because like it's a bad move necessarily, but just because like you get amped up for that pick and then you trade back and you're like, oh, I gotta stay up later now or something. So, but yeah, they have the first round pick, number 23 overall, a third, a fourth, and a fifth. Matt, would you say their strategy is probably to trade back and accumulate picks because they only have 4 picks?
I don't want them to trade back, but with them not having a second round pick, they may look to, trade back and try to get a couple picks, whether it be a third or even a fourth. That way we can try to, get some younger guys on the defensive side of the ball. As it stands right now, though, I will say this. Where are my notes? Here we go. So according to NFL.com and their projected like mock draft or whatever, they are looking at Deontay Banks, taking him at number 23 from Maryland. So we
Yeah,
do
cool.
need to get younger on the defensive backs. So I like it. Is a a once in a generation type of corner? No, but he's a physical corner who doesn't shy away from open field tackles. So it's just like I'll take it.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's corners a definite need. If we look at their key free agents this year, I put 3 down. Obviously, there's more, and you can look at that online. But the 3 that I see are the most pertinent here, and Matt can add in. I have Garrett Bradbury, who I believe only allowed 2 sacks this year. He got injured for a few games, but overall, I think he played very well. Dalvin Tomlinson at D tackle, who's I believe, an Alabama guy, a former New York Giant, and then we mentioned Patrick Peterson. Are any of these guys worthy of bringing back, or?
Uh, Definitely Garrett Bradbury. I feel like he is an anchor piece with that O line. You know, he's just one of those guys where, you know, he kind of reminds me a lot of like when we had Matt Burke.
Hmm.
So, he has that, that fight. And I mean, just a dirty, gritty type of player. And, I see that in Garrett Bradbury. So it's just like, yeah, if there's any free agents right there that I would want back for sure, definitely Garrett Bradbury.
And centers are very hard to come by, especially
Oh,
good
yeah.
ones. So, like, if you have one and he has good connection, good play, like a connection with the quarterback, the team, like, yeah, that's definitely a priority, I would say. And I have potential targets here, as they are over 21 million. I didn't give like these high flying free agent guys, and they could eventually get one once they get under the cap. But I have DeAndre Carter for him. He's kind of a slot receiver. He might be a little bit too similar to KJ Osborne, but he's also a very good returner. And I think Jalen Rager sucks. I'll put that on the record. So you need a better returner. Still have no
I
idea
think
why the
we've had
Vikings.
that discussion.
Yeah, why the Vikings traded for him. I would have told the Vikings front office, don't. He stinks. Anyway, you still got the better end of the deal. You got Justin Jefferson. But DeAndre Carter, kind of a slot returner, could be a good option. I have Cameron Sutton. I don't think he's a great corner, but he's played a lot of snaps for the Steelers. So that could be someone just to right the ship for a while. And then if they don't bring back, thank you for taking him. Someone said, thank you for taking him.
You're welcome, Jerry. You're welcome.
And then Connor McGovern, in case Garrett Bradbury isn't re-signed, but McGovern can play guard or center. But from what I'm seeing, Matt, the Vikings offensive line is actually impressing me quite a bit because like Brian O'Neill's a stud. Darisaw played really well at the end of the year. He's on the up and up. Garrett Bradbury solid. I think Ezra Cleveland was a decently high draft pick a couple years ago. So I don't know. At one point, the Vikings O line is kind of a weak point, but from what I'm seeing, it's a pretty good unit, isn't it?
It is. And, like I alluded to earlier, O line can only do so much with a non mobile quarterback. And, with our offense, it is a fast paced offense. We like they can hold guys, in place for a while. But then, if you don't have a mobile quarterback that can get outside the pocket, that's where, you run into issues. So, O line, I don't see much of an issue unless, of course, we lose Garrett Bradbury. Then it's
Yeah.
just like, well, we need to address the center problem then, which please don't let go of Garrett Bradbury. But if I had to choose out of those 3, I know I sound like a broken record, but defense, defense, defense. I would gladly, go for a guy like Cameron Sutton. He's like you said, he's not a, star, corner, but he will help that defense. He will help that, secondary.
And also, he played
So
with Brian. Like I think Brian Flores. There was some overlap in coaching him, so like he has familiarity with him, so that could work out. I take a stab in the dark with all these guys because you really don't know. For the most part, you're just kind of looking at like the need plus like if there's a connection there, and then what available cap you have. So here's where we might disagree. I know you kind of want, even though my mock I have them taking, uh, trading down, getting Mozzie Smith, a freak D tackle from Michigan. Also, you're a Michigan fan, you might like that.
I do like that. So as much as I hate trading back, if we could take a guy like Mazzie Smith, then yeah.
Yeah, I believe he was like on Bruce Feldman's top 50 freak list. I know listeners probably don't know exactly what that is, but look it up. He does one every year. The like 50 freakiest freaks in college football. Just what they can do. I believe he benched like over 300, like I want to say like 40 times, maybe. I don't know. He's incredibly
He's a
strong.
stud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've taken them taking Clark Phillips, who's a pretty instinctive, tough corner out of Utah, which they need. And then I have Drew Sanders. He kind of reminds me of Anthony Barr a little bit. I know we're changing defenses here, but he's like a 6'5", 240 linebacker. He's a very weird physical dude. And then draft targets, I have Quentin Johnson just in case the Vikings see that as a need, because he's not just a 6'3", 200 big physical dude. He's more of a down the field threat, and I think that could open up things for them. Also have Cam Smith, who's a corner, and then Henry TOTO, who reminds me a little bit of Eric Kendricks in case they get rid of him. Is there anybody from those six guys or anybody that you have that you want the Vikings to target?
Definitely Mazzie Smith. If as far as wide receivers go, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea because we are talking of either like trading Adam Thielen or something. So we definitely need a replacement for Adam Thielen. But no, Mazzie Smith and Henry Tioto or Tio. God Lord, I can't even say that. But yeah, those would be ones that definitely would fit the bill because Andrew Sanders. I mean, I like you said, kind of a freak athlete, 6'5", so on and so forth. But with the way the direction with the direction the NFL is going in terms of like physicality, so on and so forth, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to have those taller defensive players for certain situations.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great blitzer too. He's decent in coverage, so so there you go, Vikings fans. A little bit of a preview for you. I think overall we're in agreement. Defense, defense, defense is a priority this offseason. So we'll move on to, do you hate this team or no? Like, I want to get your opinion. Do you like this team? They stink. You don't care about them. The Detroit Lions.
You know what? Like on Armchair GMs, me and Jay would talk about the Lions every so often. And honestly, I love the Lions. I love what they are doing with that franchise. I love what, like everything about the Lions I love right now. And I am still going with my bold prediction. I honestly think the Lions have a good chance of being the division winners in the NFC North next year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that. I'm not gonna argue with you. I think they very well could. I think they need to add some pieces still, but if Jared Goff can play like he did last year, and their defense can get a little bit better, they were right on the cusp of it. So they were 9-8 this year, second place. They have 16 million in cap space, and from what I'm seeing, they could even get more of that if they get rid of Michael Brockers, Halapudi Vaitai, former Eagle. He wasn't very good. Romeo Oguara, and then Charles Harris. They could save maybe about 20 to 25 more million. What do you think is the Lions' number one need this offseason?
I mean, honestly, I think it kind of falls in line with the same needs that the Vikings had, their defense. Because, I mean, there for a while, I think it was until about week 5 or 6, maybe. Like they were the number one scoring team, but they were also giving up the most points in the league. So
Yeah.
I think defensive backs for sorry, dogs are going crazy right now. So
that scared me. Oh my gosh.
I was gonna say my pup and my oldest dog are trying to go at it there for a minute. It's like no. But sorry about that, guys. But anyway, no, I think defensive backs are, are a huge need for that team. And honestly, yeah, I think a couple new players for that secondary will help that team out tremendously. So that maybe another wide receiver to help. Crap, I can't remember his name. St. Brown.
Oh yeah. Monroe St. Brown for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's definitely a need, I think. Jameson Williams played 2 games, so
And honestly,
who
the
knows?
talent's there for Jameson Williams.
Yeah,
It's just I know he's still coming back from that knee injury, or was an ankle.
I think it was an ACL.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, getting rid of Hawkinson, which was whatever, it's fine. But you did lose a receiving threat there. So are you going to take a tight end, or are you just kind of shying away from a receiving tight end, going with a blocking guy, and then getting a third receiver? Who knows what your plan is? But you and I are kind of in alignment here with their needs, because on my mock draft here, I have Christian Gonzalez for them, 6'2", 200, probably going to kill it at the combine type of corner. After taking Miles Murphy, who's a Dan Campbell type of player, maybe not the most electric, but just a solid all-around good defensive end from Clemson. Jack Campbell from Iowa, linebacker. Sam Laporta, tight end, Iowa. I don't know why I picked 2 Iowa guys, but it seems like a Dan Campbell kind of thing. But Jack Campbell,
it's a Dan Campbell move.
Yeah, it is. I want these Iowa guys. Jack Campbell, though, apparently is training with Luke Kuechly in this offseason right now, preparing for the combine. So, hey, if you mention a linebacker's name next to Luke Kuechly, I don't know. I'm going to look in a little bit deeper with that. So
yeah, absolutely.
So that's pretty cool. But yeah, needs are definitely along their defensive line, probably at every level. Jeffrey Okuda is not as good as his 3rd overall draft pick from a few years ago. He's had a lot of injuries in his career. So corners still a need, but they have 2 first-round picks, 2 seconds, a third, a fifth, and 2 sixths. Do you like any of these guys from the potential draft targets, or is there someone else in mind that you think would be a better fit?
I was going to say, experts will sit there and say that, the Lions need to look at quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
So, me personally, I don't think so. I think they need to go, or I think they do need to stick with Jared Goff. He did, in my mind, really great for the Lions this past season. But I could see the Lions kind of throwing a wrench in everyone's plans, particularly the Vikings, and taking Anthony Richardson. Because, I mean, the Lions, as far as quarterbacks go, they don't have a need for it, but Jared Goff, he's a lot like Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
He'll have those big moment games and then so on and so forth. And then the following week, it's like, So yeah, I could see them going for Anthony Richardson at the number 18 pick instead.
I think Daniel Jeremiah from NFL Network actually had Richardson going to the Lions in his mock. Just because I think you're right though. I mean I like Jared Goff. I like what he did this year, but elite potential, what's their ceiling? I don't know if he can be the guy to get them to a Super Bowl berth. That's what we're aiming for. And I know for the Lions, you kind of want to get back to being relevant or mediocre before the Super Bowl, and they're getting there. But yeah, long term, I don't know, but that would be a good option because Richardson could sit for 3 to 4 years. So he could sit and wait and learn how to play the quarterback position a little bit better. So I agree with that. The Lions' key free agents are Amani Oriarie, former Penn Stater, Jamal Williams, who had a crazy year in terms of touchdowns this year, DJ Chark, who didn't really do much, and Alex Anzalone, who's probably just a stopgap type of linebacker. What do you think? Probably resign Jamal Williams.
Yeah, they need Jamal Williams. In my mind, they kind of need to move away from DeAndre Swift. While DeAndre Swift is good, he has proven he cannot stay healthy.
Yeah.
And in my mind, Jamal Williams should have been the starter. I mean, that's just my opinion. I will stick with that opinion. So, yeah, definitely re-sign Jamal Williams. Keep him on your guys' franchise.
It's tough, too, because, I remember Deuce Staley, who was a former running backs coach for the Lions. He said DeAndre Swift has the potential to be one of the best backs in the league. He was a 5-star prospect coming out of high school with Georgia. He had the potential to be one of the best, but he just hasn't put it all together. So maybe you're right. Maybe they should move on from him. Jamal Williams definitely is a locker room guy. Dan Campbell kind of guy and the tough dude. So I still think even if they bring Swift back, it'll be those two, and that's still a pretty good tandem. But I think if you're Lions fans, you're hoping that DeAndre Swift steps it up a notch this year and can become the guy, but the potential targets for free agency, I have Rashaan Evans, who's a linebacker, played for the Falcons most recently. Before that, he played for the Titans. He's just a solid linebacker all around. Jamel Dean, who's a corner from the Buccaneers. Again, big need for Lions. And he'll probably command a decent chunk on the open market. And then I have Dalton Schultz. I know they love their blocking tight ends there, but if they wanted a second one, that's not a blocking tight end. That's actually probably pretty bad in blocking, but a decent receiver. I don't think the Cowboys want Dalton Schultz anymore. I think he played pretty horrendous for them down the stretch. But he's put up some pretty good stats the last couple of years. So I still think tight end is somewhat of a need for them. Are any one of those guys, or do you have someone different that the Lions could target in free agency this year?
Honestly, two names that kind of come to mind, so long as, the teams that they played for in 2022 let them walk. Jordan Poyer from Buffalo. He's he was in the final year of his contract. I feel like that would help their secondary a lot. I do like the idea of Dalton Schultz going to Detroit. It definitely gives Goff another target in the receiving corps. So, yeah, Jabril Peppers is also another one that, he's a Michigan guy. I thought he played really well. I mean, granted, that was a while ago when he did play for Michigan. But, I mean, everywhere he's kind of gone, he's, made an impact, good or bad. But, I think if he goes to Detroit, Jabril Peppers kind of being, Michigan alumni, going, back to Michigan, playing for Detroit, I think that'd be a good move as well, going for a guy like him.
And then finally here, some other targets to look at. I have Christian Gonzalez, who I just said, Brian Bresee, D-tackle from Clemson, and then Tucker Kraft, tight end from South Dakota. Tucker Kraft reminds me a lot of Dallas Goedert from the Eagles. I think he definitely has some more athleticism than a Hawkinson does. Just kind of more juicier, I guess, is how I'd put it. A little more pep in his step. And I think he could probably fall to the second or third round. A lot of people have him on their top 100, top 50 lists. So he's definitely an athletic tight end, but who knows where he'll go. One final question about the Lions for you. Will the most improved team, the Lions, in the league, keep improving? And what player do you think can help them sneak in the playoffs?
Do I think they get better? Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said, I see them winning the division next year. And I think the person that's, going to make the most difference. Players, I'm going to throw two out there. Aiden Hutchinson being one. He's going to be, defensive captain. He's going to make a lot of, he's going to make a big jump from year one to year two in my mind. And then that second player, obviously, going to be your playmaker. It's going to be Jared Goff. I'm not saying he's going to have like an MVP caliber year, but this will be year three. Yeah, year three in that offense, and it's just like, now it's like, okay, third year you need to put up the numbers, or we got to go in a different direction.
Yeah.
So I see the difference makers being Aiden Hutchinson and Jared Goff.
I agree with that. I'm going to throw one more name in there and put Jameson Williams. If he can become anything close to Tyreek Hill's a pretty insane comp already, but if he can just make one big play per game, I truly think that could just be wicked for their offense to have that kind of dynamic speed back there. So if he can get healthy and he can play normally and regularly in every game, I think that could add wonders to their offense. They traded up a number of picks last year to get him. So we'll just stop here and we'll go with ads really quick. Do this every week. So Fresh Cuts. Fresh Cuts is a local barbershop in Marion, Indiana. Contact Caleb Kemper for an appointment through freshcutsbarbershop.com. I know Brad goes here. I don't know, Matt, if you go here. Do you?
Truth be told, I actually cut my own hair.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know that. That's great. I should do that. My hair's a mess. I don't know where to get it done. I'm not going to go to Indiana, though. It's a little too far away. Moving on. Oh, that's Fresh Cuts right there. Look at that. Beautiful. Steve Wood Illustrations. He's here for all your art needs, from Star Wars to G.I. Joe. See him for all your nerds in your life if you're not sure what to get this. Brad got me one of these. Very cool design. It's currently on my fridge. You're not going to be disappointed with that. Next, we have Culture Corner. Our friends from Afro Latinos are changing things up. Check out the Culture Corner podcast featuring Aubin and Shaylin. They have a diverse number of shows, from Come On Son to an old classic you think you know. Catch them live. Play along with them. They're really awesome. Next, we have Rules of the Frame. It's another friend cast specializing in movie reviews of pretty much anything there is. Connor was recently on an episode of Random Fandom talking about film, and we hope to have him on our other Smash Popcorn shows very soon. He does an awesome job there. And lastly is 1000 Wives of Weird. Very cool podcast. Very weird. Very weird movies that they choose. They criticize bad movie choices. Brad H. and Ian will keep you entertained and laughing for hours on end. Check them out exclusively on Spotify. That is that. We're moving on to the Green Bay Packers. Now, I'm sure you hate these guys, right? You have to hate the Packers. I feel like this is kind of in your blood.
I hate them, but I respect them.
Okay.
I respect them, though. So I think a lot of that, hate comes from, with the place that I work, there's a lot of Packers fans. There's a lot of Bears fans. I'm one of only 2 Vikings fans. So I get it more from the Packers fans, but, just kind of that hazing and so on and so forth. And it's just like, hey, let's talk about this last season, all right?
And you know what? Now you can always say, well, my quarterback might not be as good as Aaron Rodgers, but at least he doesn't lock himself in a dark room for 4 days for a darkness retreat. Because that's what Aaron Rodgers is doing. That's super weird. I don't understand it. I honestly think the big thing from the Packers this offseason is whether or not to get rid of Aaron Rodgers. I think that's a major step that they have to take, because you're not going anywhere with them. You might as well trade him off and get a couple picks.
I feel like he has gotten so weird in the past couple seasons. I don't know what the heck is going on. But he's just he's like that weird uncle that your parents try to keep away from you. Yeah. That's Aaron Rodgers now. It's just stay away from Uncle Jimmy over there.
Uncle Aaron. One year he looks like he's homeless. The next year he looks like he's going to model in a magazine. Like, I don't know where he's going with his hairstyles. Like, I keep my hairstyle normal for the most part. I keep my beard the same for the most part. This guy's changing it every year. I don't know why. Maybe it's depending on who he's dating. He's had like 15 different girlfriends in the last few years. I don't know. This is a football podcast. But anyway, do you think that the Packers will trade Aaron Rodgers? And if you think that, where do you think is a good spot for him?
Do I think they'll trade him? No, I don't think so. Do I think they should trade him? Yes. I think they should, move on from Aaron Rodgers because obviously, you're not winning anything with him at this point in his career. It's time to find out if Jordan Love is your guy or if someone else is your guy. Like, you need to start thinking. You got to start thinking now, and towards the future. So with Aaron Rodgers, I think they should trade him. There was a lot of speculation that he was going to go to the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know now because, there's a lot of rumors with Derek Carr going to the Jets.
Yep.
So do I think they should trade him? Yes. Where they should trade him?
Best offer. I don't know.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, all right, who's going to give me the best offer?
Who wants the weirdo? Who wants Uncle Aaron? Who wants him?
Although, I mean, not to get too far into other divisions, obviously, but the quarterback situation with San Francisco, he was a San Francisco fan, so
very true.
Who knows?
I mean, and Trey Lance, they don't love him. Brock Purdy, apparently his elbow is still inflamed, and they have to put off surgery with his elbow. So, their quarterback situation is in flux for sure. And maybe it is time for Jordan Love. They went 8-9 this year, not very good. They just restructured Aaron Jones' contract pretty recently, so I think that got him a little bit more money than this negative $17 million that we have here. So they're in a little bit of a situation with their cap space. Some moves that can help them get that down, obviously, is Aaron Rodgers. It's David Bakhtiari. He can't stay healthy at all. He's a really good tackle. He can't stay healthy. Kenny Clark, who's been very good for them, but he's getting up there, and Preston Smith as well. They've put, I don't know if you've recognized this. I'm sure I know Packers fans have, but they've put so much picks and assets into their defense, and just like Vikings fans are pissed off with Ed Donatel, right? Packers fans cannot stand Joe Woods because their defense is horrible, and they've put so much more into their defense than the Vikings have, with picks and assets and money, and they still have retained Joe Woods. So where do you think their first move of the offseason should be? Is it the quarterback position, or is it just getting Rodgers weapons or figuring out their defense?
The defense, I don't think, needs figured out. Do they need a new defensive coordinator? Yes. So they need to address that, or they need to find something as far as defensive play calling goes. Now, in my mind, they should look at drafting another target for Aaron Rodgers. I think in my mind, I think they should go for Dalton Kincaid, the tight end from Utah.
Yeah, I love that.
He's a great pass catching tight end, and I think he would fill that. I know first round, top 15. That's kind of early for tight ends. Kyle Pitts,
right?
But
it's a good one though. I mean, and
it's a good one. I think he would. I think he would be a good replacement for Tunyon if they don't resign him. So, me personally, I think they should get a weapon for Aaron Rodgers if you do decide to keep him, or for Jordan Love, depending on who your quarterback is. Yeah. They're going to need a target because I'm not saying anything bad about Christian Watson. He had, in my mind, a pretty decent rookie season.
Moments down the stretch for sure.
Romeo Dobbs, he has the potential. So it's just like you need a good tight end though, whether
Yeah.
it be, a pass catching tight end or a blocking tight end. Like
Yeah.
that's a need that is needed for whoever your quarterback is going to be for the future. So
Yeah. And just like Matt said, guys, they have the 15th overall pick in this draft. They have a second rounder, a third, a fourth, a fifth, and 3/7. Um, They're key free agents this year. They have Alan Lazard. I don't think he'll be back. Robert Tunyon, we just talked about that. Adrian Amos, who's been pretty good for them at safety. Randall Cobb, Jaron Reed, D tackle, and Dean Lowry, defensive end. Would you say Adrian Amos is probably their most key free agent target
that
this year?
that in my mind, yes. Like because you look at their secondary, it's not bad.
Yeah,
Like it's not a bad
Alexander's
secondary
good.
at all.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
their
yeah,
problem this
I would
year
definitely.
has been just stopping the run. I know the Eagles gashed them for like 300 rushing yards earlier in the season. So you're
I
right.
was
The
gonna
secondary, I don't
say.
think, is the main problem.
Mm-mm.
Um, so yeah, Adrian Amos would be the one I would say to target for sure. And Matt said a tight end early. In my mock, I had them taking Brian Brisset at 15th overall. And we just talked about the run defense. I think he could do wonders for the run defense. He needs to improve as a pass rusher a little bit. And then I have them taking Darnell Washington, who is like a 6'8", 270-pound tight end, very much reminiscent of like a Mercedes Lewis, who they've had on their team for the last like 3 or 4 years. But I think sneakily they could be a team to double dip on tight ends because I think this is a pretty good tight end draft. And I think for Jordan Love, like even though yes, a receiver is a need, I think they right now are still focused on having a very good running game first. Because like you have
Oh
Aaron
yeah.
Jones, right, and then you have AJ Dillon as well, and you have a lot of beefy guys up front who are very good at run blocking. Like that's still kind of their mo. They've kind of strayed away from the passing game, and it's been like, let me just hand the ball off to Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon and let them work. So a lot of sets are mostly two tight end sets. So like they could be a team to double dip on tight ends. Do you think a receiver is a need for them early, or do you think they should target one in free agency?
I think they should go for one in free agency because, like, honestly, I think it would be a good strategy for them to double dip on tight ends, whether it be in the first round and third round or the second and third round. Like you said, this is a good draft class as far as tight ends go. So, I mean, if you don't take Dalton Kincaid, you can go for like you have Darnell Washington and who's the one you mentioned for
Tucker,
the
yeah, Tucker
Lions?
Craft.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's a lot of good, stock and tight ends this year. So, I think it would be a better solution to double dip on the tight ends and, possibly take, a Jacoby Myers in the wide receiver or in the free agent market at wide receiver.
And I also have them maybe targeting Jesse Bates in case they get some money, but that's a big ask for them. And then Matthew Iodonis as a replacement for Dean Lowry. Um, I'll throw one more name out there for Packers fans. I would say if you want some a more dynamic guy on offense, even though Christian Watson was pretty dynamic this year, this receiver class, while I think it's decent in like the middle, like maybe third, fourth rounds. A lot of these guys are very, very small. Like a lot of them are under 6 foot. So you're not going to get your like 6'2", 200, like Julio Jones type of guy. Like, those guys really don't exist in this draft. But a guy like Zay Flowers or Tank Dell, both of those guys are sub 6 foot. They are vertically challenged, but they can get deep vertically down the field. So I throw those names out there as well. Because I mean, from what I've seen from Jordan Love, I think he is a mobile guy. I think he can make throws on the run, plays on the run. So just to get some more um, dynamic speed to your offense, if that's what they're looking for, I would throw out those two guys um, as well for Packers fans. And then Do you think Jordan Love is the guy? That's my final question.
I don't think he's the guy. Like,
Boo. He wants
I,
Uncle Aaron. Get him out of here. He likes his weird uncle.
I, I want Jordan Love to be the guy. I do, but I don't think he's the solution for. Um, I don't think he's the solution for quarterbacks for the Packers. I mean, we've seen like we saw Aaron Rodgers, take Brett Favre's place, and that seemed to work well. But I don't think the lightning is going to strike twice. So that's
Yeah.
why I'm like, nah, I don't think Jordan Love is the guy. So
And I would think too, with how weird Aaron has been, and with how like bad the Packers have been in succeeding in the playoffs, like if Jordan Love was that guy, I would think like they'd probably be more keen to move off of Aaron Rodgers. Like if Jordan Love showed that much promise, like you would think maybe a year ago or 2 years ago there'd be more talks and rumblings of the Packers like, yeah, we can move on from him. Like Jordan Love's really good. Like we're confident with him. I don't really see that confidence from them. Maybe they have it, but I guess that's a story for next year. Move on to the Bears here. The
one
worst
final
team.
note back
Oh yeah,
to
go for it. Go for it.
I was just gonna say, and the Packers technically could have had the chance to trade him off last year.
Right.
With the type of season that he had this
Yep.
past year, it's just like, well, now you lose trade value.
Yep.
So
Yep. You're right. I don't know what they could get for him. I'm still confident they could get like a one for him and maybe like a second rounder next year, something like that. But like in his
yeah,
maybe, I think though, like what you're alluding to, like if they did it last year, yeah, they probably could have gotten like maybe three first rounders or something. Like, I think that would be
oh yeah,
probably the going
absolutely.
rate for elite quarterbacks. Last team here for you guys, the Chicago Bears, the worst team in the NFL. The
Got
Texans,
Bears.
the Texans could have gotten that spot, but instead they won the last game of the year and screwed themselves out of the number one pick. So good job, Bears, for tanking. 3-14 last year. Definitely some positives, I would say. Justin Fields, I think, did quite a bit for them. He was their entire offense. I think, personally, in my opinion, I think he showed a lot of promise. I don't know what the Bears think. It sounds like they're being stupid. We'll see. And then they got rid of Roquan Smith on defense, and for some reason, traded a second rounder, but in reality, it's a 32nd pick overall, to the Steelers for Chase Claypool, who did absolutely jack squat. So, don't know what their thinking was there, but he's on their team currently. They have $100 million in cap space. Matt, what is their thinking this offseason? Where should they go first?
Get Justin Fields some help. That's all I'm that's the direction that they should be going in. I don't know what more needs to be said.
Yeah,
Justin Fields, he does show a lot of promise. As I mean, granted, with the direction we talked about it earlier, the direction that the NFL is going, you have the scrambling quarterbacks.
yep.
Get him some weapons that he can either throw to, get him a weapon that's in the backfield with him, build around him, because that's the only way I could see the Bears getting any better.
Yeah, yeah. I'm right there with you. Brad wanted to ask a question. He was thinking about coming on. He definitely wants this question to be asked. What happens if, hypothetically, if the Bears keep the number one pick and instead trade Justin Fields? Do you think
I
that's good, bad, or just stupid?
I think it's a dumb idea, honestly, because I mean, you know, listen, the Minnesota, we had a chance to get Justin Fields, and I would have been real happy with that pick. Granted, I'm a Michigan fan, but I saw the talent that Justin Fields had coming out of Ohio State. I would have been happy with that pick. Instead, the Bears moved up to get Justin Fields because they saw the potential, they saw the talent. I I think it's too soon to pull the plug on the Justin Fields project.
Yeah.
So I don't like the idea of trading off Justin Fields and keeping the number 1 pick. I think it's a better idea if they trade down.
I'm right there with you again. I've seen so many people say, "Oh, this should do it." Like, no problem. Go ahead, go for it. Why not? Like, Fields hasn't progressed as a passer, that much. So like, you should move off of him. But like, how can he when he doesn't have like a real receiver, when he doesn't have a real offensive line, when he had Matt Nagy and he has a new coach? Like, there's no chemistry, there's no consistency, there's no elite help. Like, I want to point out Jalen Hurts last year. This is good because, like, even though I'm an Eagles fan, it definitely relates to Justin Fields thing. Jalen Hurts had an okay year last year. Like, you could see, oh, there's potential for him to be a good quarterback, our guy. But the passing game, his arm was in question. Like, he didn't make a ton of elite throws. Like, he was inaccurate at times. He kind of got rattled by the blitz. Like, he had some questions. But what did they do? They went out and got him A.J. Brown. Devonta Smith progressed, and they catered the offense to him. Like, it's so much easier to say, oh, well, Justin Fields can't throw, or Jalen Hurts can't throw. All right, but then you get A.J. Brown, and now everyone's like, oh, Jalen Hurts, he was the second place in MVP. A lot of that is, yes, he progressed on his own, got a lot better as a passer, but also part of that was, oh my gosh, A.J. Brown is wide freaking open in the middle of the field. I can make, you know what I mean? Like, those plays should be had for every quarterback. So
Exactly.
Justin Fields, he should like get an offense that's catered to him, his running ability, but also get him like some easy targets, some maybe a tight end that actually gets open, maybe receivers he doesn't have to like run around for 20 seconds and throw it deep, like some easy throws that will eventually give him confidence to make other throws downfield that'll improve his overall numbers. And confidence is a big thing in quarterbacks.
Oh
It's a
yeah.
big thing in all sports. Like you want to have, if you can get a few easy passes right off the bat, Jalen Hurts throws a couple of easy slants to AJ Brown. Okay, he's in the zone a little bit. Like he's starting to feel it. Like that is what happens for these guys sometimes. So, yeah, all that to say, I'm in agreement with you. I don't think they should draft Bryce Young and trade Fields. In this mock, if you're watching on YouTube, in this mock, I have them trading down to the Colts at pick number 4, and I'm sure they could pick up another first, another second. Like that draft capital will be large and it'll be good for them. But overall,
It's funny you mentioned that because I think like I have been saying it since like them getting the number 1 overall pick came out. They need to trade back with the Colts, get that, get that, and get Michael Pittman Jr. In my opinion,
yeah, I
because
think that could help.
you are wasting Pittman's potential in Indy. I'm sorry, I've said it for a couple years now because there is no consistency within the Colts franchise in terms of quarterback. So because Pittman, that ceiling is up here. So I mean, you might as well try to get like if I'm the Bears, I'm literally saying, look, I'll trade you the first overall pick for I want the number 4 pick, and I want Michael Pittman Jr.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think Pittman last year had a pretty good year, and I think most of us were like confident that he'd progress, and he didn't. And I think that's what you're pointing out. Like, there's no chemistry in the quarterback room. Matt Ryan's was pretty erratic this year. I mean, the whole team was just off balance, obviously. But I think Michael Pittman, while he is an A.J. Brown, can be a guy that can win at the line of scrimmage for you on early downs and get an easy 5 to 6 yards for your quarterback. And even though Pittman and Claypool and Darnell Mooney isn't the scariest receiver room I've seen, it's still a room filled with pro receivers. And like, he was throwing a Dante Pettis this last year,
Yeah,
And
exactly.
That's a guy on my key free agent list, but it shouldn't. Like, they should just get rid of, like, like it's bad. get them some real guys. They're free agents this year. David Montgomery, Nicholas Morrow, who had a lot of tackles for them this year, Riley Reef, who's an aging tackle, Dante Pettis. Do you think Montgomery is their biggest need, or do you think they can maybe let him go and venture off to another running back?
I think venture off, go to another running back because I in my mind, I'm thinking of the one running back who is not going to resign with his team, most likely. That's Josh Jacobs.
Hmm.
So I say you let David Montgomery walk. I do like the idea of them keeping Morrow though,
Yeah,
because he did got a lot of tackles for them this past season. You might as well bring back some like a key piece in your defense
yeah.
or lack thereof. So, I think you let David Montgomery walk.
Yeah, I agree. This running back class is pretty loaded. On my potential target list, I have them with Tony Pollard. I think that could be good, but also I've heard rumblings that if the Giants, uh, if their priority this offseason is to re-sign Danny Dimes and not Saquon Barkley, Saquon could walk, and I've heard that the Bears are a team that he could go to. I love that. I think that would add so much of a more dynamic backfield with him and Justin Fields, and Khalil Herbert can spell him too. And in the passing game, Barkley's a really good receiver, as is Tony Pollard. If he were to leave Dallas, which I think he should, because I hate Dallas, and I think he could get more money with Chicago. So, yeah, I also have Evan Ingram here in case he doesn't resign with the Jaguars. I have Darius Slayton as a mid kind of receiver option. Um, Orlando Brown at left tackle if he doesn't resign with the Chiefs, because he's going to want a lot of money, and the Chiefs don't have a lot of money. And then lastly is Javon Hargrave from the Eagles, who had 12 sacks this year, and they could really use to get better on the inside of their defense. Is there anybody that you have or on this list that you really want the Bears to go out and sign?
Um, I think another good player for them to possibly look at, if there's four running backs that actually come to mind if they don't resign with their team or are released by their current team. Kareem Hunt is one of them. I think he's a good, receiving running back. Jamal Williams, if Detroit does let him walk, I think that the Bears would be in a good spot for Jamal Williams. And Devin Singletary and Alexander Madison.
Oh yeah, a lot of options if you're looking for an RB1,
It's
an
just,
RB2, RB3.
yeah, it's just I'm not sold on David Montgomery.
Yeah,
Again, like him and DeAndre Swift are in my mind a lot alike. Talent's there, very talented, but they can't stay healthy.
yeah,
They can't stay healthy, so it's just like, and with running backs, granted there was a lot of injuries this past season, all across the board, but a running back is one of those key pieces that you really need on a week to week basis. And I don't trust Montgomery. I don't trust Swift. I barely, trusted Dalvin Cook this year, and that's me being a Minnesota fan. So it's
yeah.
just like you gotta have running backs that have low miles on them to where they can last you a whole season.
Yeah, I think David Montgomery can be a piece in an offense. I think he can be, the thunder to someone's lightning, but I don't think he's the number one option anymore. He only averaged like 4 yards per carry this last season. Khalil Herbert averaged 5.7. So Herbert's just kind of a different animal in that offense. It seems like. But back to receivers for a second. I was just looking at this. Darnell Mooney had about 500 yards this season. Equanimeous St. Brown had like 300. That's horrible. Yeah, they had a guy named Byron Pringle. I mean, I know who he is, but it's kind of a weird last name. You're throwing to a Pringle can out there. It ain't looking good. Draft targets. This is kind of the last thing. They have a lot of picks. I think they're going to get a lot more if they do the smart thing. I have Jordan Addison as a possible receiver, as a slot guy for them. Well, Anderson, obviously, early on, if he falls to them or if they just stay at one. Keanu Benton, who's a very solid D tackle, about 6'4", 300, good run stuffer. Steve Avila, who one of the best guards in this class, even though this class of guards isn't very good. Jalen Carter, obviously, you know that name. Trenton Simpson, who's a very athletic linebacker, not the most pro-ready linebacker, but a guy who can do a bunch of different things for you. He can rush the passer, he can cover, he's freakishly athletic. Matthew Bergeron, who is a tackle / guard, and then Darnell Wright, another tackle from Tennessee. Let's say they go Jalen Carter or Will Anderson number one. Where after that do you think this should go?
Build that offensive line.
Yeah.
If they if they don't do it in free agency, they definitely need to do it in the draft. I do like the idea of them beefing up their offensive line. I'm not saying you're going to turn heads, just in one offseason or like make a world of difference, but something's better than nothing. And it was real bad when Justin Fields snapped the ball, and then his first option right off the bat is just run out of the pocket and run for 20 yards.
Yeah. I just want to read you their offensive line really quick. Riley Rafe, who's a very old man, he'll probably not be on the team. Tevin Jenkins, who was a very early pick for them a few years ago, moved to right guard, actually played pretty well, so I'll give them that. Then they have Lucas Patrick at center, Cody Whitehair at left guard, who's okay, and Braxton Jones at left tackle. Yeah, you're right. They just need to add a load of talent into their offensive line room. Whether that be a guy like Orlando Brown or Taylor Lewan just got released. Mike McGlinchey at tackle, he's out there. Isaac Seumalo from the Eagles at guard, he's out. Maybe they want to steal Garrett Bradbury. I don't know. But they desperately need some interior O-line help and tackles. Just a solid tackle that can protect Justin Fields. There's some decent tackles in this draft. After Peter Skoronski, it kind of goes downhill from there in terms of elite talent. But later in the first, maybe early second, there's some talent there for the Bears to have. Do you think the Bears? Let's say they make all these moves that we have for them. Let's say they draft Jalen Carter, Will Anderson. They get that O-line help. They go ahead and get a good receiver like Jordan Addison, or I don't know, they trade for Adam Thielen, or they go ahead and get a stud receiver. Do you think these moves that we laid out for them, do you think they can get to the playoffs, or is it too early?
First off, it pains me to even have the thought of Adam Thielen in a Bears jersey.
That wouldn't happen. I guess it could.
I mean, the Vikings have traded with division rivals before. What's one more time?
Yeah.
But I don't think it'll be – I don't think they'll make the playoffs in 1 year. I think it's definitely a 3 years is a stretch, but definitely a 2-year project. Will they be close? Yeah. I could see them being the most improved team this time next year. But I don't they're going to kind of fall in the same boat as what the Lions did this past season, where they missed it just by that much, just that much. So it's a possibility, but I don't see them making the playoffs.
Let's go one last question. Tony Pollard, Saquon Barkley, or Josh Jacobs as the next Bears running back?
Well, Tony Pollard, he's recovering from an ACL or a torn ACL, isn't he?
I don't think so. I think he got hurt.
Yeah,
well, you're right. He did get hurt. I don't know what injury that was though. Let me look that up quick. But you're right.
I was gonna say.
Oh, yeah, he did have surgery though. So, yeah, significant for sure.
If with as much money as you have, I would almost say go for. I would almost say go for Saquon, just because while Saquon and Josh Jacobs are both great, I feel like Saquon has that slight edge over him because I believe he's a better pass catching running back.
Yeah.
Now, that's not to take anything from Pollard because, in my mind, Pollard should have been starting over Ezekiel Elliott all season long. But I can see why Dallas made the choice they did. It was the wrong choice, but I digress. That's a subject for another time. But no, I think if I'm the Bears GM and the Giants are dumb and let Saquon walk, then that's my number one target in free agency. And
I would agree.
have a lot of money to put towards him, so go for it.
And I could finally start cheering for him on a regular basis because he's not on the Giants anymore. So, guys, that will do it for the NFC North offseason preview. Matt, thank you for joining me. It was awesome to have you. Thanks for your insight. Next week, guys, we're going to go down south, the NFC South, in the probably worst division in the NFL this last year. So, guys, we'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Later.